What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. As you can see, we are joined today by MLB Insider Robert Murray of Fansided. We're going to be doing a little MLB trade deadline talk. The Mets are going to be one of the biggest sellers at the deadline, and there's nobody better to bring in than Robert. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you. First off, how's things been? It's been a while since we've had you on.
No, it has been a while, but I appreciate you boys having me again. It's been relatively quiet, although I will say yesterday I finally got the first time of the entire deadline where I was woken up by a phone call. So that was always fun. Although I was up at like 1 o'clock, did not go back to bed. But as of this point, a lot of teams are in limbo. So it's like everyone's asking like, what are you hearing? What are you hearing? And basically what everybody's hearing at this point is teams are waiting until probably next week to determine what direction they go. And then after that, all hell could break loose, or it could end up being a relatively quiet deadline, and really nobody knows the answer to that as of this point.
Definitely. And just the way that the playoffs are expanded now and the way that these wild card spots, especially in the American League, seem as up for grabs as ever. The Red Sox rip off, 15 in a row, put themselves right back in the race. They were supposed to be sellers. Nationally, the Marlins have now lost 9 in a row. They looked like they were going to be buyers. Now, who knows where they're at? The Orioles are staying in it. There's a lot of teams that are trapped in the middle, but we know one team that's not trapped in the middle is the Mets, and we do wish that we were coming to you with happier tidings for the trade deadline. But this Mets team is going to sell, 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 sell. So I think the first place we want to go is a place I don't want to be this time of year. I didn't want to be here as a Mets fan in general, but there's just so much smoke right now around Francisco Lindor to the point where it's gotten to like an egregious, absurd, ridiculous level. We've spoken about this on our show, but is there any actual relative truth, whether it not be the trade deadline or in the offseason to Lindor, waiving a no trade clause, moving on from this money, anything?
Yeah, I've checked on this a bunch, and I don't think a Lindor trade at this deadline is likely at all. I get the impression it's really unlikely, and the Mets want to keep him. They want to keep Juan Soto, and obviously there's been a bunch of smoke around their relationship and whether or not it's actually in a good place. It seems like it's better, and even Steve Cohen kind of said the same thing when he was on John Heyman's podcast, which is possibly a good sign here for the Mets. But in order for them to be successful, they need to have a good relationship. They need obviously those guys to stay healthy and perform at a high level. Same with Bo Bichette here as well. I'm optimistic that they can figure this out, that they can turn it around, but they will not like improve from where they're at or become like a legitimate playoff team until those two can figure it out and perform at the levels that they expected. Because they've invested 341 million in Lindor and almost 800 million in Juan Soto. Like that's a lot of dough, and you got to be
Bill.
making the postseason here.
Yeah, we've been talking about how even if there was some truth to like Lindor possibly getting moved at the trade deadline,
Yeah.
who's going to then take his money if he's such this undesirable player that people on the social media and stuff would like to say, and then two, how do the Mets even move forward? It just doesn't really make sense from either side.
Like, who plays shortstop? Who's he actually waiving a no trade clause for? The whole thing seems incredibly complicated right now.
No, it's totally complicated, and like honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he just wanted to be in New York, if I'm being honest, because it's a great place for him to be, and he elected to be there when he signed that mega deal, and he knew exactly what he was going to be signing up for. Obviously, when it comes to the Mets, there's going to be lows. They're currently going through a low right now, but I've not gotten the impression at all that he's like wanted to be out of New York. So I like again, like he controls where he wants to be. And I think he wants to be in New York, and I would be really surprised if he is moved. But I would imagine there's going to be plenty of other teams that would also want Lindor on their team, but would probably require the Mets to pay down some of that salary. And I just don't get the impression that that's a scenario that's even remotely on the forefront of the Mets' minds here.
Well, good. We got that out of the way. We don't need to talk about silly Francisco Lindor rumors. One guy who's almost guaranteed to not be on the Mets come August 4th, Freddy Peralta. He has been statistically one of the worst pitchers in baseball this year. Some way, somehow, this has happened despite being really good for like the last 5 years. What can we expect on a return from Freddy Peralta? Are teams really scared off by what he's done so far this season?
No, I still get the impression he's desirable around the league. And obviously, you mentioned the past 5 years when he was in Milwaukee. He was super consistent. He's also one of the best clubhouse guys in baseball. Like I was around him when I covered the Brewers, and everyone, whether it's players, coaches, front office, scouts, like player development, like whoever, they love Freddie Peralta. And also, too, his $8 million contract for this season. Obviously, it's going to be prorated, makes him super desirable for teams. So I expect him to be drawing a bunch of interest. I think a return for Peralta could end up surprising some people, considering just the overall performance that he's had this year, because it's just not been anything close to what he did in Milwaukee. But I feel very confident that he is going to be traded. I think there's going to be a bunch of interest league wide in him, even from teams that could be small market, big market, mid market, like you name it. His salary and that performance allows every team to be in it. But that being said, I wouldn't expect a return close to what they ended up getting or what they ended up giving to get Peralta. It's not going to be like a Jet Williams and a Brandon Sproat, anything like that. So, but I do expect them to do pretty well here.
Yeah, that's fair on thinking about the money in terms of Peralta that keeps a lot more teams involved, invested. I think a lot of times us fans forget that these prorated salaries are something. I mean, Moneyball does such a great job of it, of describing how much money you're willing to accept at the deadline for a small market team. And I think that another player who's really at the top of mind for Mets fans this trade deadline season, Luke Weaver, that could possibly work against his market, something we're afraid about, because Luke Weaver on his $21 million contract, payroll-wise was $9.5 million this year. And it's $12.5 million next year. Is that second year of his contract, not an option, nothing there, a purely guaranteed second year of his contract? Could that work against Weaver as a trade candidate at this deadline?
I'll go back to something about Peralta real quick, because I was talking about it with an executive recently, and he ended up mentioning to me that you have such a better opportunity or better chance if you're an organization of having like ownership approval of adding that salary, as opposed to a guy like a Tarek Skubal, because his salary is so big, it automatically limits the amount of suitors in there. So I'm telling you, I think Peralta, despite that performance, is going to have a super robust market here for sure. But going back to Luke Weaver, I don't think that works against him at all. I think that actually helps the Mets in a potential return, because I think teams are going to really want to have some certainty going into next year, just considering the overall CBA situation. And it also, too, like they signed him to that 2-year contract in the winter. That's been one of the very rare moves that's actually worked out for him. So, like, props to David Stearns for that. And like that extra year could end up getting them much more in return for him as well. And you look at the rest of the market here. Like you have Aroldis Chapman, probably unlikely to go. Mason Miller, there's been a bunch of smoke about that. It seems like I'm on an island here where I think that's unlikely. I don't think he's going to be traded unless some team like knocks AJ Preller's socks off, which I guess you can never really rule that out. So is it possible that Luke Weaver would end up being the best reliever potentially available? So then in that case, you can end up having a team blow you away with an offer. And also, too, like every contending team is looking for high leverage bullpen help. Like it's crazy. So the Mets could be in a position there to capitalize on Weaver for sure.
Yeah, that's something to note. Like with Peralta, how you mentioned before, Robert, the money being so cheap. Even like us, me and James, when we've talked about it, we've probably missed on the fact that because that contract's going to be so affordable for every team at the deadline, there actually shouldn't be a single team that wouldn't be interested in bringing him in. And especially when you talk about even just starting pitcher versus reliever, like we would for Luke Weaver. That's a nice rhyme right there. Like, he's got more value to teams. He's going to bring back probably a pretty nice haul for the Mets, which would be shocking based on how we've seen him perform, especially compared to how Luke Weaver's performed for the Mets this year.
No, it's crazy, but it's such an opportunity where the Mets, and also like it's not like there's a bunch of guys that are going to be on this market here either. So like they just have such an opportunity here to really cash in. So obviously like this season's gone to absolute poo poo. Like I mean that's my technical baseball term right there.
It's gone to shit. Yeah.
It's a fair one, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like they can take advantage of this thing. They can add people who are close to major league ready, and then they could be in a better position to possibly compete next year. But I think David Stearns has to take a pretty long look in the mirror here and see exactly how he can improve. Whether it's like obviously he let go of a lot of that core that he had, brought in some new guys, and it took a long time for them to gel. But do you change how you view like the injury risk when it comes to free agency through trade? Like there's a bunch of different things that I think he needs to look at, because what this season's become is just simply not good enough at all.
I have one more thing real quick. You mentioned like that you think most teams are probably going to start to evaluate whether they either buy or sell in the next week or so, like as next week. Would the Mets have sort of like an advantage to trying to move off from these guys earlier and set the market, or you think that they're going to be patient too and wait?
That's a great question, because I've asked teams that are kind of in a similar situation to the Mets, where they like are definitive buyers or definitive sellers, I should say. And it seems like they're just teams currently are just kind of nibbling and seeing exactly what's on the market and what it's going to take. It's kind of in the kicking the tires phase. So maybe there's a team that ends up coming to David Stearns and is like, okay, like let's get this thing done. We're going to give you exactly what you want, and then maybe they pull the trigger on it. But I would expect most, if not all, of the movement to come next week, just because the market seems relatively quiet right now, even more quiet than usual. It's just a very bizarre market overall.
What if you can actually have it all? And I'm talking about Mint Mobile taking the premium wireless bouginess crats, but then bringing it to the transparency in pricing and the affordability in pricing.
They're going to lay everything out there with a cheap bill that, you know what, everybody can handle right now.
You can even bring your current phone and your number if you're thinking about it and you're like, I'm worried about that. No worries. They have you covered because they're able to convert people all the time to the Mint Mobile way. Go to mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/territory. That's it. There's no catch. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required, $15 per month equivalent, taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only, greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy, includes up to 20 gigabyte hotspot. Capable device required, availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com.
Was your general sense on the market even compared to something like last year, where it did take until I think it was like 2 days before the trade deadline was when the Mets made the first move? That was Tyler Rogers from the Giants. Then everything started kind of trickling down like 48 hours in advance. But just the huge cost for starting pitchers last year, again, as pertains to Freddy Peralta and Klay Holmes, possibly as he comes back from injury. Do you see possibly getting similar exorbitant prices, like even like a Shane Bieber going for like a fringe top 100 prospect last year when he hadn't pitched in a year? Is it still very starting pitcher crazed and focused?
Yeah, I would definitely say that's accurate. It's going to be very hefty, like the prices here. And we also might have some different guys come on the market here as well. Obviously, we lost Sonny Gray, but we might have like a Kevin Gausman type or a Trevor Rogers or, I mean, some different names that are going to be possibly emerging here in the coming days as well. So, like, I think the prices are going to be very high. I think there's going to be teams, especially the Mets, like to keep it Mets focused. Like Klay Holmes, like they don't have to move him. They're going to try to extend him, but from what I'm told, it's unlikely. Obviously, that can change, but they could be in a real position here to capitalize on both. And also, like it's not like out of the realm of possibilities that they could trade these guys and then possibly bring them back. Like we've seen that scenarios happen before. And Peralta has a really good relationship with David Stearns. He's acquired him twice, and I don't know if the Mets would be in a hurry to bring him back. I don't know if Mets fans would necessarily like that considering his performance, but like. It's possible. Money talks when it comes to free agency. So, like, I would imagine you boys would probably prefer to have Klay Holmes come back in free agency. But maybe they can end up trading him and then bringing him back. Who knows? I think that should be something we should consider here for sure.
I mean, I'd take both back. It's a great time to buy low in Freddie Peralta. What was he asking for, like $180 million a few months ago? We're not getting that anymore.
Cheaper than that.
Yeah, although I will say, I think that was a bad report.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I saw that number and I'm like, yeah, I didn't think that was right.
No, it's also like that. I think that's kind of helped him be vilified a little bit by Mets fans as well. You start to pitch mediocrely to start your career with the team, then a rumor leaks out, whether it be true or not, you ask for a monster extension, and then you completely shit the bed. Like now, you're really Mets fans can't wait to watch that door hit you on the way out.
Don't give us an excuse to get mad at you.
Yeah, wait, Mets fans, they can get mad. I just learned something new on the show today. Look at that.
There's Mets fans right now that are even mad about the possibility of trading Klay Holmes just because he's become such a fan favorite. And he's a weird case, just not pitching since late May, coming off a hairline fracture in his leg. It's weird, but do you still get the sense that he has a robust market as well?
Super robust. He is going to have a ton of interest. And I believe he's throwing a rehab outing today, 3 innings. Is that right?
I believe so.
My days are all screwed up. I wasn't sure if today was Thursday, Tuesday, or Friday, or whatever it was. But, like, I can confidently say there are going to be an absolute ton of scouts there. Like, people are going to be evaluating that, trying to see if he's going to look like a pre-injury form, if his stuff is crisp, if he looks like he's 100%. And if that is the case, and maybe teams can see him again before, obviously, the trade deadline and everything. But I would imagine he's going to have a very active market. Like, the Mets, they were one of the teams that wanted to convert him to the rotation after being in the bullpen, and that's looked like an absolutely masterful move by that organization. Yeah. So I give Stearns credit. Like obviously, it's easy to beat them while they're down, but he has made some good moves in between Luke Weaver and then also Klay Holmes. Like those two have panned out, and those two could really stockpile their farm system and have them better prepared for next year as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, for every Klay Holmes and Luke Weaver, we remember the other names that have. It's been such a roller coaster with David Stearns. Didn't expect it like this. The bullpen, though, Mets have so many pieces besides Luke Weaver that are also definitely going to be on the move. A.J. Minter, Brooks Raley kind of being a part of that second tier of left-handed relievers where you're not a Josh Hader or Roldis Chapman type, but you're still very capable. Yeah, Morahone. Very capable, good baseball player. Is their market super active right now, and what could Mets fans maybe expect back for them?
Yeah, those two are definitely going to be drawing interest, and I'm pretty confident they've already been drawing interest as teams trying to evaluate who is going to exactly be out there. And obviously, you can't trade everyone. I mean, maybe you could. I don't know. But I think both of those guys are super desirable because teams are always looking for left-handed relievers here. And if you can end up having those two guys, veteran guys who have performed at the major league level, I think that's something that's super valuable there. And I'm glad you did mention Josh Hader. This is a name that I'm not like totally convinced he's not going to be moved. Like I think there's a chance. Like here, okay, so here's my logic: is the Houston Astros in the offseason, they were trying to shed a bunch of payroll. Hader is signed for $19 million. He's signed for 2 more years, $19 million per year, I should say. Could they possibly move a guy like Hader and then use that money saved and to throw it back into the roster in a different way? That's my own speculation. It's not something that I've heard, but I think it sounds like something that they could try to do, and the Brewers even tried doing that when they moved Hader in the first place. They tried for a couple different guys. Obviously, that failed, and they missed the postseason. So there is risk, but I think Houston should and probably will at least consider that. But I would imagine the Mets are going to be in a really good position here where they can, like, with both of those left-handed guys, to take advantage here for sure.
We were kind of wondering about something similar to what you just said about the Astros and Hader, whereas this Mets team seems like they're motivated to still compete at a high level in 2027. So with that, seeing that we actually do have payroll flexibility, especially if we move on some of these guys for the rest of the season, is there a world where the Mets do try to actually kind of make a measured buy, take on pitchers with team control like Jose Soriano, Reed Detmers floating around, or a couple other Astros corner infielders because the Mets need help there, and Isaac Paredes or Christian Walker. Luis Garcia Jr. is under contract next year, fourth year of arbitration with the Nationals, at a position of need for the Mets. Like, is there any world where they look to 2027 in a significant way at this deadline?
I definitely think it's something that Stearns will consider. Is it something that I've heard? Not on my end as of this point. Everything that I've heard surrounding the Mets has just been either Freddy Peralta, Klay Holmes, or those relievers, Luke Weaver as well. I should mention him. I don't want to forget him. David Stearns always has an eye on the present, but also the future as well. So if he's got an opportunity where he can go out and get those guys, I think that would make a ton of sense. Like you add a Reed Detmers type, I can confidently tell you he has been the most asked about player on my end from other teams. It's crazy. Teams love Reed Detmers, and I could see Stearns seeing the under. There you go. See, we got another fan right here with James. But it's like, I wonder if Stearns can see Detmers, see the underlying numbers, and expect him to possibly get more out of him. So I don't know, but I know teams just absolutely love Reed Detmers.
Are the Mets actually considering trading Francisco Alvarez, or is that just like kind of a soft rumor and really more so considering trading Luis Torrens if someone comes knocking?
Yeah, that's a good question. Immediately after that came out, I checked, and it's like, you know what? I think that's a case where the Mets just evaluate any and all options here, and I don't get the sense that's like a priority for them. Will they listen? For sure, because there's so many teams that need catching help, and now we've seen Shea Langoliers, we've seen Hunter Goodman, we've seen Ryan Jeffers, Adley Rutschman, all those names mentioned, but I get the sense that all those big names that I mentioned, with the exception of Jeffers, is probably unlikely to be moved. So I would not expect Alvarez to be moved unless they just get blown away here.
Catcher's such a weird trade deadline position historically as well. You just never see teams move on from starting catchers, and it's tough for playoff teams to be like, yeah, now go learn the whole pitching staff in 3 weeks. But something funny, as we go through all these Mets trade options, they weirdly line up super well as targets for some of the Mets' most heated rivals and hated other teams by our fans. Like, the Phillies are so desperate for another trustworthy lefty or a right-handed bat in the outfield. We're going to talk about Luis Robert in a second here. The Yankees could use a catcher, bullpen help. And the Braves are dying for not one, but probably 2 starting pitchers. And they have the Mets pitching coach for last year, Jeremy Hefner, that I'm sure would love to work with Klay Holmes again. From what you know about the past with David Stearns and what you're hearing right now, are the Mets actually going to open the door for some of these rivals that historically the organization hasn't been too keen on trading with in the past?
I think David Stearns will operate with an open mind here, and I don't think he's going to shut down any conversation. That being said, though, when it comes to dealing with the Braves and also Philadelphia, there's got to be an in-division tax. Like, you can't,
Yes.
yeah, you can't just, yeah, it can't be like how the other teams operate here, where it's like you have to get an increased value here. So if you're Stearns, you got to get maybe $1.20 as compared to $1 from those teams. So I definitely do think he will be having plenty of conversations, because when it comes to the market, obviously I mentioned all the question marks that are currently here right now. But that being said, though, like, those are the two teams, the Phillies and Braves, who are going to be among the most motivated teams in the market. And possibly could they overpay? Like, Dave Dombrowski, he is not afraid of moving prospects. Like, if he wants somebody, he will go out and get him. Like, could you imagine, like, after losing a guy like Brad Keller, you go out and get Luke Weaver? I mean, I think that makes a ton of sense for them. You can maybe Luis Robert Jr., I mean, they're looking for an outfielder. Could that end up being a fit there? Again, you mentioned Klay Holmes with the Braves. I think that would be a terrific fit. Like, the Braves, they've needed to go out and get a starting pitcher here for sure. So if it's Holmes or if it's somebody else, I definitely think Atlanta is going to get somebody for sure.
Yeah, it does feel like this is going to be the classic Dombrowski year, where he was like, oh, you're a prospect? Available. Like, he's going to do what he's done with every organization he's ever been to, tear down the minor leagues to try and get that ring.
Oh, hey, I'll tell you, which I love. Like, I want more executives to be like that. It's one of the reasons why I love AJ Preller. Like, the guy goes out. If he wants somebody, yeah, he'll trade anybody. Like, and it's like also like the Mason Miller stuff. I don't see it, but like, I don't want to go and get distracted here when it comes to that. But like, Preller, I love how aggressive he is. DePoto, super aggressive. Dombrowski, super aggressive. If we have more executives like that, like, I don't know if you guys are into football, but I'm a diehard Philadelphia Eagles football fan, and I see how Howie Roseman trading. Yeah, dude, Howie, like, he will trade anything, and it's awesome. He's so active, and like, it makes it more fun as a fan. So I just wish the other 27 GMs across ball would be more like that for sure.
If you're watching us, you already know we're wearing Mack Weldon right now as we talk about a great brand that makes things so comfortable and easy to wear. But if you're listening to the show, let me tell you a little bit more about Mack Weldon with my friend Eric Kratz.
Yeah, it's comfortable. It's light. It's summertime right now. For me, though, they cater to what I need: tall clothes. Normally when I buy tall clothes, it's like something that's cumbersome and boxy. It still fits incredibly well, super light, perfect for the summertime. They got me all covered.
Comfortable performance material can be yours. Mack Weldon is the spot. Don't sweat the heat this summer. Feel as effortlessly cool as you look with Mack Weldon. Go to mackweldon.com and get 20% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code FOUL. That's MACKWELDON.com, code FOUL.
I mean, I think Mets fans can say it this past offseason, David Stearns was aggressive. He just probably picked the wrong spots for the aggression. And that is kind of the game you play. Dombrowski's been so good at this over the years. And I would love to see another Mason Miller trade just because of what he fetched last year and where the Padres are right now as an organization, and the fact that, similar to what we've talked about with teams being concerned with the money, like, you got 3 years of team control. Yeah. Like, you could pull, like, if you grab the Pirates and you're like, hey, this is all you need right now to actually get into a playoff series and compete. This is your last piece. Give us everything you got. Like, I would love to see just the leverage be built for these small market teams to try and see what they can do with Mason Miller.
Oh, I totally agree. Like, I think teams are going to be trying here, and as they should. Like, you imagine, like, as you said, imagine Mason Miller on the Pirates. Imagine him on any other contending team.
The Yankees is probably
yeah. It would be incredible, and I think people still don't realize just how good Mason Miller is. Like, he's got an ERA under 1. He's been unbelievable this year, and that's another thing with AJ Preller too, is he likes unique talents. He likes superstar players. And obviously, you got the expensive guys with Jackson Merrill, Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Tatis Jr., like, so on and so forth. Miller, as you said, he's controllable for 3 more years at a super affordable rate. I'm never going to rule anything out with AJ Preller. Like, the guy will trade anybody at any time, but I just don't see him being in a hurry to move Miller unless he's totally blown away. So that's why I'm skeptical. It seems like I'm on an island here, so I'm kind of. I don't know. It's fun, but I feel confident in my stance there for sure.
Until AJ Preller sells, I'll never believe that he sells. That guy is ready to try and win a World Series every single year.
There you go. They're only 3 games out of a wild card spot entering today. So, I mean, they're definitely in it, and they don't need to move Miller by any means here.
Yeah, it'd be funny to see if they pull that off, though. I mean, there's so many other guys in this Mets roster that I'm sure Mets fans would be. What's a nice way to put this?
Ecstatic?
Really excited to trade. Like the bad contracts that we have in the books next season that Mark and I have been talking about a lot in this show between Jorge Polanco and Marcus Semien. There seems to be. It's hard to be optimistic about either of them as we go to the lengths of their contracts with this team. There's basically no way to get off those, right?
No, I don't see a way. And and that wasn't obviously Bo Bichette has got his big contract, and that's gonna be super difficult to move. Polanco, I don't see maybe the Mariners would want him back, but I don't see that necessarily with that contract there. So I think the Mets are going to be on the books for all those guys there, and also they prioritize run prevention in the offseason, and then they get Polanco, they put him in a spot he's not familiar with, bring in Bichette and put him in a new spot. It didn't seem like it was very well thought out there either.
What's funny is Bichette's actually been decent at third. We were talking about it yesterday. Yeah. Jorge Polanco's only played 20 innings at first base for the Mets this year. That alone just feels like an insane sentence. We thought it was a lot higher than that. Yeah, the offseason for the Mets this year was a complete disaster.
And then
it couldn't have gone worse. And and the thing is David Stearns is really smart. This offseason's been an absolute disaster for him. But
yeah.
I'm still confident he can figure this thing out because obviously his back is against the wall, but he's got Steve Cohen's support. He's got his pocketbooks. I think he will figure it out. But boy, he is feeling the heat right now in New York for sure.
Yeah, and that's why there's so much pressure at this deadline for him to get this right. And last deadline, again, I don't think it was really his fault, but it was also a complete disaster.
All the trades we loved, we were like, these are such great moves.
When guys like Ryan Helsley and Freddy Peralta show up in Queens and forget how to pitch, you kind of start to wonder, something cosmic going on here. Why are these not working? These have worked everywhere else, not here. I think the last guy specifically we wanted to ask you about was just if there was any smoke around Devin Williams. No, he's on a 3-year deal. It is relatively affordable. We know that so many teams want relievers. Everything underlying, just like we said last year, still looks good for Devin Williams, despite the odd 9th inning grand slam. So anything around him or just too long of a contract?
I would say teams are probably going to check, but I'd put him in the more unlikely category as of this point. I would imagine a Luke Weaver, Klay Holmes, Peralta types are much more likely going to be moved. So I think Williams is probably going to be in Queens after the deadline here. But again, this could be a case where the limited bullpen options, especially the high leverage guys, could result in a team trying to get Williams. But I'm just not hopeful about that if I was you guys or the Mets for in that spot. Yeah.
I think last question here before we let you go. Are there any unexpected teams or even players on the Mets roster that you feel like aren't getting enough attention right now that could be interesting at the deadline?
I would say I think we covered all of them because those are the names that were on my list here. Maybe there could be a surprise, but I think Luis Robert Jr. is definitely going to be somebody who's going to be asked about a lot, and I would not be surprised at all if he's moved, despite obviously the injuries and the inconsistent performance there from him. Teams still love him. They believe there's more in the tank there, so I think they're going to have a chance of moving him. The pitching guys, though, that's going to be the focus for the Mets and just everyone across baseball. Their pitching, both starter and bullpen, is plenty desirable, so I think Stearns is going to be plenty busy there for very busy over the next 10-ish, 11 days here.
We were hoping that you said someone was kicking the tires on Kodai Senga, but I guess not.
Can't force that one.
We're praying for that one.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I got bad news there. So
yeah, that's fair,
boys. I just let you down.
So that's expected. Robert, thank you so much for coming on, talking some Mets trade rumors with us. Let the people at home know where they can find you and everything you're working on right now.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you boys having me. You can find me on Twitter @ByRobertMurray. You can read me on Fansided.com, and hopefully on my Twitter, you'll be seeing me break plenty of trades. I got my phone is blowing up. I've got a bunch of texts that I need to respond to, which is always fun. So hopefully we got something coming across the pipeline soon. But I think it's going to be closer to next week.
Yeah, guys, links in the description to Robert's stuff. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel over here. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. We will catch you all after the Dodgers series. See you next time.
Peace out, guys. Let's go, Mets.